Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep. With your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Monday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, Dennis Dick with you this morning. I want to get to some catalysts that are on my radar for the week. Before we get to today specifically, we've got more earnings, of course, this week. Roku, Disney, Uber, Chegg is today. Speaking of Chegg, we'll have the CFO, Andy Brown, on the show on Thursday. We've got the jobs number on Friday. That's important. We've got a couple of big tech events. Samsung's Galaxy event is Wednesday. We'll keep an eye on Qualcomm as it relates to that. We'll get U.S. auto sales this week. So a lot going on this week for the market. As far as today specifically, tech is ripping. Microsoft is trying to buy TikTok. We knew that from Friday. We got a couple more retail bankruptcies over the weekend. ADT is ripping after a partnership with Google. And we have a new SPAC play, a new EV play. We'll talk about that. One more EV stock for all of us to trade and enjoy. Our guest today is Will Rhind. He's the founder and CEO of GraniteShares. He would join the show at 8:35. Talk through this massive rally in commodities of late. Don't forget also to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate that. And now I will throw it to Joel, and Joel will give us a recap on what has happened here in the overnight trading session. Joel, throw it to you. And throw it to you.
Good morning, traders and investors. Welcome. Green on the screen today. The mystery buyers out last night. We had a little bit of a dip and then the rip. We took out the prior high of the move at 84.50, current high 86. Can we see 3,300 today? Maybe. Crude down 16 cents here at 40.11. Gold in the green by $1.17 at $1.70 at 1987.60. Silver over $24, moving towards 24.5, up 21 cents at 24.43. And Bitcoin taking a little breather here in the 11,000 handle. We have the Bitcoin futures trading down $200 at 11,410. Triple D, how was the weekend?
Busy. It's busy. And you can get a different viewpoint here this morning. I don't have the banners up because I traveled and I'm traveling and I'm at a different spot right now. So at my other house. So no banners this week. You get to look at my whole office here. This is the office. What hides behind the banners? There you go. Not much. I moved everything. So it didn't all look grungy.
People are going to start sending you some pictures or something to hang on the wall.
Well, we had some stuff hung on the walls and we've taken some of it down. So anyways, we got everything looking cleaner.
All right. What a shocker. Tech's up. Dennis, alert. Tech rally. Alert.
It's just ripping. I mean, this is Groundhog Day around here, and you can say, oh, yeah, we can look at the Qs, and they're up 0.78%, SPY's up 0.59%, but individual tech stocks, they are just flying. I guess we can attribute the gains here, Mr. Israel, you're saying, to Microsoft potentially buying TikTok. Is this why every tech stock I'm looking at is ripping higher here this morning?
I don't know what.
Talk to me.
I don't know if it's why every tech stock is up. It's definitely why Microsoft is up, though. I've never seen this before. I've never seen a company actually scoop themselves and come out and actively talk about an M&A deal that is in progress, because that's what happened over the weekend. Yesterday, Microsoft published a blog on their corporate blog where they talked about how the CEO, Satya Nadella, had met with the president, and that one way or the other, discussions with TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, are going to wrap up by September 15th. So there are obviously some national security concerns here, but Microsoft came out and said, that, look, we're talking to TikTok, we're talking to ByteDance, we're trying to buy them, we're working on it, we talked to the president, he's aware, and one way or the other, we're going to be done with this by September 15th. And so it actually came out and acknowledged M&A talks in progress, which almost never happens, I feel like.
Maybe it's because everybody kind of knew it was already out there.
Well,
I mean, this has been talked about for 3 days. Charlie Gasparino obviously has been talking about this nonstop as well. I believe Gasparino was the one originally breaking those.
I think you're right, on Friday afternoon. I think you're
yeah.
right.
So we'll give you props, Gasparino, because somebody else was stealing your thunder. We'll give you the props here on Benzinga Pro. So, and Benzinga's pre-market prep. So, I don't know what to say. I mean, I like TikTok. Joel doesn't like TikTok. I like TikTok.
Do you know that
I
we
own
actually
Microsoft. I think it's good. I think they
But-
get TikTok. I think I don't mind it.
Do you know that I was talking to somebody in the neighborhood and we were somehow TikTok came up and and this guy told me, he goes, "You're on TikTok." I'm like, "What? I'm not on TikTok." And he pulled
They
up
show
the
you a video of you on TikTok. You do a
Yeah.
little dance like this, Joel. The little happy dance. This is what I see. This is on my Twitter feed. All I see is people doing little happy dances and stuff.
Oh man, can I get it off my Twitter feed? When I look at my Twitter feed,
What is it besides like happy dances?
I've never watched one video. I didn't even watch the video.
I'll tell you what TikTok is. You ready?
I've seen because they had the COVID and everybody was doing their COVID happy dance when everybody's in lockdown.
I don't know what it is.
Do you remember Vine?
I don't. I remember Vine. I don't really remember what
Vine,
it is though.
Vine was Twitter's like 6-second video app, right? You can do a video that's the last 6 seconds or less.
Yes.
And they shut it down in like 2016, I think. I don't remember when.
They
Anyway,
should have run with that. You're telling me.
TikTok is basically Vine. It's basically the same thing.
They just made it better.
They just made it better, but it's the same.
Well, that was Google. They just made the search engine better, and all of a sudden it took over the world. So there's money in making things better, Spencer.
That's true. There we go.
There is.
Well, you could blame it on, or you could say it's TikTok or whatever. What I'll say is it was just a breakout that we talked about on the after the close show with me and Mr. Israel, 3:40 to 4 p.m. If you have a chance to catch that. And we were just looking at this 205 area and actually that is 3 consecutive highs, 0470, 0465, 0446. You don't see that too often in Microsoft. 3 highs in a row, and then someone was leaning the right way on the close on Friday. They took it to 205.10, closed right up there. That's about as clean a breakout as you're going to get in a major stock. They hit it after earnings a little bit, right? And then it just found a roof, and then it blew through it. So there it is. It's not TikTok. It's the breakout that we talked about on the show on Friday. Pre-market high comes in at 1175. Let me see what the dailies are telling us if we're looking for a daily level. If you're looking for a daily level, if you have to sell it, which you shouldn't, 213.94 is your next. We could probably find another one. 212.30. Let's go.
I'm holding.
Yeah, 212. 212.
I'm long and strong and holding Microsoft because I've saw, Apple break out to new all-time highs. I saw Amazon. Obviously, it gave back a little bit on the earnings, but I'm holding the big 3. I'm calling them Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. The only one I don't have is Facebook, and like I said, I did have Facebook before, and I regret the sale. So I don't want to have seller's remorse on Microsoft. I'm holding strong. Holding on. If you were long, I wouldn't get out until this would be my stop at 197.51 if you're in it for a trade.
You know what?
Until it breaches that,
yeah.
Bull's still in control.
You say you own this and you own that, and I know that you own other things, but and I looked at my largest holding is the high dividend ETF for spiders. So I feel like I own all 500 stocks. When they all go
but a high
up.
dividend ETF, you're not going to own that much of. Yeah, you're not in the growth stock. So so my portfolio, and I could write it all down, like to give you, like I name this, I name that. My portfolio is tech and dividend, and there's pretty much no in between. Like I said, I have a lot of preferred stocks, which give you pay. So I've got basically the preferred part is like my bond portfolio portion of it, and then I got tech stocks. So, and then there's a few others in there, but for the most part, if you looked at my portfolio, you'd be like, holy cow, you're underweight financials, you're underweight energy, you're underweight. Yeah, I am. Why? Because they underperform. So, and definitely overweight tech. So I don't see what changes that. I don't see the reason to come in and start selling all my tech stocks and buying all my value, because that has been called for a decade. that value is underperforming. Value is underperforming. We've heard that for so long. And then value will get a 2-day rally and tech will sell off for 2 days. And everybody will be like, that's it. You got to sell your tech. And then they go on CNBC and value is going to start. They bring all the value managers on and they'll say it starts performing and then it just goes the other way anyways. So I've learned the hard way that every time you think value stocks, higher yield, tech stocks are going to start selling off, it doesn't happen. The value stocks just continue to underperform. And I think the trend's your friend there. So I'm sticking with my tech.
All right, what else? We have some earnings, we have some new stocks, do you hear about Lord & Taylor?
Gone.
Yep. And did you hear about Tailored Brands?
Are they gone too?
Yep. Where am I going to get those 2 shirts?
30 cents now off the board. I mean, retail's struggling. It's the same story. It's Groundhog Day around here, folks. Look at Boeing, down today. Boeing's down again. American Airlines down. S&Ps have continued to rip for a month and a half, and all the rebound stock, you could call them the recovery stocks, had just underperformed and continue to underperform. American Airlines has gone nowhere in the last month and a half since it had the blow off top in June, which we called on this show prior to it happening. Like that day, like we were
June
saying,
8th, you guys should listen to that.
It was in the pre-market. It was 9 o'clock or 8:45 in the show. And I said, all these things I think are going to top out at the open. It feels like upside capitulation. That was the day. I mean, if you're talking about calls that I made, that's probably one of my best calls ever.
I think so too. I think so.
Here. Well, obviously we've had some good calls on the show, some bad calls on the show. I know I've made bad calls as well. LCA has been one of my bad calls, which, we could talk about as well. This is a stock that's definitely underperformed. I'm concerned about sports. And you look at DraftKings is trading down here today. Is Major League Baseball, are they going to cancel the season? I watched the hockey, some of it over the weekend. I want to tell you something, Joel. I want to give you a little bit of props because I said, I'm hungry for sports and I am going to, be, rah-rah watching everything when it comes back. I was watching the NHL playoffs and I'm a huge hockey fan. And I got to tell you, I was very disappointed, not just because my team lost. I was disappointed because it didn't feel real. It didn't feel real. And why didn't it feel real? Because there's no fans in the stands. There's no atmosphere. And Portnoy tweeted out, and I retweeted it last night. And he says, this is going to be controversial, but he's like, how do you get excited about sports right now? And this is the sports person, Barstool Sports, because it all kind of feels like preseason. And it does. I'm like, that is spot on. That's what this feels like. It doesn't feel real. I'm looking at these guys playing the hockey games and they got fake fans. They've got, the crowd in the hockey games. They've got people cheering when they score a goal on the Jumbotron, but there's nobody in there. It feels all fake. So I'm like looking at it, I'm like, this is not sports. Golf is one thing, because you're watching golf and golf is golf. It's sleepy, lay on the couch. It's not like get in your stand and get ready. You hear the crowd rumbling. And even if you're watching it from home, the crowd adds so much atmosphere to it. And I'm looking and I'm like, I'm not enjoying it. Maybe some people are, but I'm struggling with it. And I'm a big hockey fan. I do all my hockey pools, and I watch the baseball games. I flip the Tigers game on. I'm like, it doesn't feel real. And the Tigers are playing okay, but it doesn't feel real. And then I'm like, watching it, I'm like, is there a point to watching it? Because when is somebody else going to get sick? Who's going to be the next team that has to go into quarantine? Are they going to end the season early? You're watching it, thinking, well, do I want to really get interested and get all into it when the season might just end anyways because they didn't bubble?
Hey, can I give you a counter argument here?
Yeah, for sure. Please.
Okay, this is from Major League Baseball. Okay, so last week was the first week of games in Major League Baseball. TV viewership up more than 100% year over year compared to the same week last year versus this year. TV viewership up more than 100%. Disney said that ESPN viewership on ESPN was up 34% for the ESPN games last week, 34% on a year-over-year basis. Fox said they saw a double-digit increase in ratings on a year-over-year basis for the games that they broadcasted. So based on the first week of baseball, maybe it's just because it was the first
week.
But
it's like, oh, Disney, they're lined up outside the door to get in the park on the first day because it's been closed for a while. So everybody flipped it on. everybody flipped it on the first day. Are they going to continue to keep the fans? I'm just saying, as a hardcore hockey fan, I watched the NHL playoffs and I was pumped. I was like, this weekend we're getting the playoffs back. It's going to be awesome. I'm sitting there and I'm watching the games and I'm like, why am I not into this? I'm like questioning it. I'm like looking and I'm like, why am I not just like, this is awesome. Hockey's back. They're playing. But, every time somebody scored a goal and, they've got fans cheering, like loud in the background, but there's no fans in the stands. It's like, it feels fake. I don't know. And maybe it's just me. But when Portnoy tweeted that out last night, and he's obviously Barstool Sports, who's more sports than David Portnoy? And he tweeted that out, that how do you get into it? Because it kind of feels like preseason. I was like, spot on. I'm like, that's what it is. It feels like it's preseason, like it's not real yet. It's not like this is the real games. And this is the NHL playoffs that are going to, bring you in. But even the way the NHL playoffs did it was kind of weird, that there's got this play in and you got teams that were basically out of it and trade everybody. And now they have a chance to get back in. That was all kind of weird. So maybe
did you see about Jonas Cespedes?
Yeah, he's out.
He's out. He says I'm out. I had to play one game and I checked out. And then a lot of the NFL players are doing the same thing. Let's just see. Did you see that this guy from the Tigers struck out 9 guys in a row? He tied the American League record.
Nice.
9, struck out 9.
And then
in a row.
It's like Bueller. It's like Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
And he was up 1 and 2.
Row.
He was ahead of the count 1 and 2 on Moustakas, and he hit him on a 1 and 2 count. But
all right, I'm bringing it back.
We're digressing.
The reason we did this, the reason we went though on this rant, there's a stock behind the reason, and it is DraftKings.
Yes.
And DraftKings is trading down here today, 2.5%. DraftKings stock chart does not look healthy to me. And I'm on long LCA, which is also a play on it. It does not look healthy either. So these pure sports betting plays, if you can call them pure sports betting plays, I don't know how pure LCA is, but it's play on sports betting. The stocks are underperforming for a reason, and sports are back. So I'm like thinking this is the reason. So just my thoughts. What do you think the chart DraftKings? Let's take out all the little fundamental talk behind the scenes, the sports talk behind it.
Okay, let's look at it.
Israel's getting good at the charts here too.
Yeah, let's give Spencer a shot.
Throw it to Spencer. DraftKings.
Yeah, Spencer, you're bullish.
I have LCA. It's underperformed. I'm down about 8-9% net. I'm almost thinking of lightening up.
I never understood why you got
always do this. It's good that you cut your losers, but
I've kept in business because I cut losers.
Have some conviction. This isn't a trade, though. You said it yourself. Have some conviction.
I did, but I don't know if I've got the conviction right now. I'm like, it could be a while. I'm getting talked out of it because I think the sports is not as good as I thought it was going to be.
You're talking yourself out of it. Just let it ride. This isn't a trade.
I've let stuff. I know, and I said that when I bought LCA, I said I'm buying it because if DraftKings is worth this, I think LCA is going to be worth a lot more. But here's a company that's trying to merge and trying to get started. It's underperformed. So you're right with space, with SPCE, for instance. I took a lot of heat on that for like 3-4 months before that actually started to perform. And I thought the story could get hot. I don't know if the LCA story, if the sports betting story is going to get hot though, because sports just started. Sports are back up. How's it get better right now? Unless we get a vaccine tomorrow.
Oh, look at
That's why I don't know how the story gets hot now. I don't think the DraftKings story. So go to DraftKings, Spencer. Give me your technical thoughts.
I got it up. I even got a line on it. 27. First
Joel's
of all,
drawing lines for you, Spencer.
Yeah, I'm going to do more. I'm going to do more for you guys. That's what our listeners want. I will figure out how to do it. But look at that low. You had that dip at 27.52. You had a couple other lows in that area. You know what's kind of ugly about this one? It's kind of like a head and shoulders, another head and shoulders, and now another head and shoulders. So you got really some dandruff there. You got you take out this 27.52, there's a ways to go, but it had to break, tried to rebound, had to break, rebounded less, and now you're breaking again. So I don't know. I've been kind of skeptical on these stocks and what's going on with the sports and the gambling and everything. And I hope I'm wrong. For GAN, you're looking at just under, you got a pair of lows just under $18 that you got to keep an eye on.
The chat's all over me on LCA, and lots of good points being made here. And I do know that LCA is not a pure they have table games. They have obviously, game gaming aspect of it. And I like that aspect of it too, that, hey, if everybody's going to start gambling from home a little bit, LCA is a play on that as well. So it's not like DraftKings is all sports. It's got the other aspect of it too. I've liked it. I like the LCA story, and maybe, there is that story behind it. Everybody's saying, hold it. It's going to be worth more. And I did say, I'm putting this in a long-term investment portfolio, I'm not going to look at it. I'm looking at it though, Mr. Israel. And I mean, this is just the psychology of trading, right? And the psychology of investing. And you take your trading hat off. I had this on for a trade. I would be long gone when that thing took out the 12 support. I'd probably be short. I probably would be short because it took out that major 12 support. And that was the line in the sand. Now you think it's probably going back to 10. So I'm like, do I sell it and re-get in it? But my problem is I sell these things out of my long-term portfolio and I never rebuy them. So I might be right on the initial to sell them and, get them cheaper, but then I don't rebuy it. And then I look at it 2 years from now and maybe it's $20. So the story, could get hot eventually again. The valuation isn't crazy on LCA. I mean, obviously, it's still a company that's just getting started, so it's hard to even look at it from that perspective. But, when you look at an $800 million company versus DraftKings at like 20 billion, and you think, okay, well, they have the sports betting aspect of it as well, that, maybe there's a chance that this that this could actually, start to close that gap from a market cap perspective. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't like the chart.
You know what? I mean, when you bought this thing, I just it just didn't make any sense to me. And I thought maybe.
Why?
Well, because if you have a slowing economy and you have higher unemployment, people are going to have less disposable income, right? And they use the disposable income to gamble, okay? So if we're going into any type of recession, people are going to have to be tightening up the bootstraps and saving money. And we all know people lose on these sites. They're not around because there is probably a handful of people that make money on it. But to me, I mean, if the economy was ripping and GDP wasn't a negative 40% or whatever, then I think you have a case here. But I mean, encouraging sports gambling in this kind of, environment, unless you own tech stocks.
And again, this is everything. I saw it, originally too, as an alternative to going into the casino. So where you have so many patrons that, want to go into the physical casinos and obviously gamble in there. And I mean, the atmosphere and everything. I just thought as an alternative. I almost saw it as a little bit of a lockdown play to a certain extent, because online gambling, as opposed to having to go into Wynn Resorts or Las Vegas Sands or MGM and gamble in the physical casino. So that's, was, another reason why I kind of liked it as the alternative to going in and pulling the slot machine and getting, the cooties from everybody else. I kind of like that aspect of it too, but it's tough. Investing is tough.
You know what? I'm gonna say
the story
one
is
more
early
thing,
here,
and then we're gonna move on. But I know
there's a lot of people who are in this though, are in this, because we've talked about it a lot on the show. I've talked about it. Obviously, it's one of the SPACs, so it's been hot. There's a lot of people who are in this right now, and I think I'm totally on the fence right now. Like, I could go either way because I don't like it. It's not performing here at all right now. And maybe, it's because DraftKings really hasn't been performing either. But again, this isn't a pure play on sports betting, but you see a lot of these reopening stocks not performing. This one's not getting love. And maybe it's because they haven't done the merger yet either. So it hasn't become the golden nugget. So, maybe once it, it gets that, maybe, then people start to realize, hey, this is real. I don't know if they have a projected date for that. So I think I could do more homework here and analyze, but I'm not liking the performance.
Final thing, and then Spencer is going to move us on. I know I've mentioned this on the show before, but this might have been in the late 70s, okay? And there was a lot of pressure on the tracks in Michigan. And they were going to bring in, they were stepping up the lottery and off-track wagering. And my dad fought it. He fought it because it hurt the horsemen with less people going to the track. And he told me, this is in the 70s, he's like, eventually you're going to have sports with no fans. And it's all going to be, obviously.
COVID was the one that made that happen.
Yeah. But it was a trend, and maybe it's accelerating. And so whatever. But LCA, first of all, you added to a loser, but it's in your long-term portfolio. So I know you don't mind doing that.
I did. And I never do that. And I did because I took a partial size position. I brought to a full size position. Because I bought it bad the
14.
First time, like around $14. And then I bought it awesome the second time, like 12.10. And then, so I had my average cost down to about 13. And that's where I'm in, around 13. And now it's 11.60, and I'm like, I don't like it when I'm losing money. So I've often cut long-term investments early when I start losing money. It's the reason I probably, done pretty good long-term investing as well, because I do cut losers there too. But, then there's stories, that you've cut losers and they end up turning around and, being awesome. So it's tricky. I mean, trading is tricky, but long-term investing is really tricky because you got to ignore everything, ignore all the short-term story, ignore the hype, ignore the noise, and saying, I believe in this company and I think it's going to be, bigger company in 5 to 10 years. It's tough to do that.
All right. Well, speaking of SPACs, we actually have a new one today. Today's SPAC of the day is DPHC. That's the ticker Diamond Peak Holdings.
What's it going to be?
It's going to be another electric vehicle stock, Lordstown, which is the electric vehicle truck maker, pickup truck maker that is based out of Lordstown, Ohio, where the former GM plant is. And so that was, you actually see on the chart, that was rumored like a month ago that random spike up there. But now we have confirmation this morning, DPHC, yet another electric vehicle stock. And it's going to be Lordstown, and they do the pickup trucks. They're basically going after Ford.
The electric vehicle story has cooled significantly since the Tesla earnings. Look at all of them. Bring up the charts. And obviously Tesla is the leader, and we know it's come down from the earnings report. We know eventually it's going to get out of the S&P. It's going to get that pop, and I think that's going to be a selling opportunity. But if you just jump into the other EV plays as well, they have all started to cool off a little bit. I don't know if any specific ones you want to look at here, but Solo has tried to pop a couple of times there, had the big move when everybody was buying. We know Workhorse, we talked about that one. It can't seem to get going. It keeps running into resistance every time you think it's going to go, and maybe it's just stabilizing to go up again. And obviously have that contract with the Postal Service that we don't know where that's going to end, so that's a wild card for that stock. But it feels like the story has cooled off, doesn't it, Joel? Doesn't it feel like the EV story?
The chart says the chart says it's cooled off.
It's cooled off a bit. I'm not saying it's over, but it's cooled off. Because if you would have had this news, this DPHC news, a month ago, the stock would probably be at $20 because everybody's just so hot for anything EV. And it's up 14%. It's getting a lift, but the EV story's a little cooler right now.
And remember that Lordstown.
Look at Candy. Holy mackerel. Look at this Candy chart.
That's
from Friday.
A great example.
Or Thursday.
Yep.
Look at that.
Candy Eye, the EV parts or whatever it is. And we go from $4 to 20. It was in the pre-market. Never saw those levels. Straight down. Now it's $7 again. That's a quick, demise to whoever was chasing that. It's tough. It's tough because stories get hot, stories get cool. We can't value any of this stuff because we don't know. And I mean, Nikola, there's nothing that's cooled off more than Nikola. Think about where that was. Nikola, $93 a month and a half ago. It's $30.
Look at it.
Look at it.
Look at it.
Every pop is just not getting that much love again.
Look at everyone buying it at 30, thinking they're going to sell it at 40, and they're going to end up getting stopped out at 20. Look at that.
I think you're right. We played it once, like we were talking about on the show. I said, first time down. Wasn't it Nikola or was it the other one? Third? It was
maybe Workhorse. I can't remember.
It was one we talked about.
It was Nikola? Yeah, it was.
I thought it was going to be a pop off 30 the first time, and it did. And then, but it fizzled out again. I don't know if it was Nikola or not, but anyways,
I think it was.
We're hanging out here too long. Yep. We're popping this morning. We're up again, 31.75. Good news. Good news. Good news. You take out 29 on this, it's going to be 20. So be careful. If you're in this, thinking it's going right back to 40 or 50, there's a lot of overhead supply. And if, you get caught in this and starts to go below 29, there's going to be a flush.
Look what happened. Like
29 is critical.
Look at you had the dip to 40, and you also had that low at 40. And people were rewarded for buying that dip to 40 because in 3 days it was at 60.
Yes.
Right? They were rewarded. And then they were kind of scratching their heads at 50, $10 down the next day. Mm-hmm. So, hey, put your 40, 50 buy stop in. If it ever gets above $40, maybe fill the gap up.
You got to get the story hotter, though, Joel. The story is cooled off. The EV story telling you right now here on PreMarket Prep, it has cooled off.
What have we learned is it can get hot again
quickly.
So
it can. And we're not saying the story is over. Like, like I've said, with a lot of different industries, like I talked about Bed Bath and Beyond when everybody was buying it because it was going up because of that activist action in there and it went from 10 to 18. That story is over. The story is over on Bed Bath and Beyond. Where is it now? BBBY. It's $10.
Right. So
I mean,
there's a difference. There's a difference in
it's
that.
the slow road to, I don't want to say zero because zero takes a long time, but it's a slow road to being under $5. That's where, a lot of these retailers are eventually going. L Brands is hanging out here, Joel. And like I said, I thought when it got to 23, 24 on the pop on earnings was overdone. It got really crazy and got to 26. Now it's 25. Now it's putting a couple tops and it's looking tired. Maybe it's getting another pop again, but what's the catalyst to really bring up L Brands? So these are stories that aren't cooled off. These are stories that are broken. So there's a difference between a broken story and a story that's cooled off. Workhorse story is cooled off. Is the story broken? No, we don't know that yet. Maybe they get the contract. There's lots of different things happening there. Nicola's story is cooled off. Is it broken? No, the EV story could get hot again too. But right now it's cooled off.
Just if you're going to be in this sector, if you're going to be in this sector, make just Tesla, right? I mean,
Why not?
Go with the best in breed. That's what I would say.
The Tesla story is cooled off too.
A couple of things to add here. So remember when we had the CFO of Workhorse on, Steve Schrader, Lordstown Motors was founded by the former CEO of Workhorse, and Workhorse does own 10% of Lordstown. Second thing, Nikola, they report earnings tomorrow afternoon. So keep that on your radar if you're trading, if you're in this sector, if you're trading.
How do you report earnings
when you don't sell any
sold a car or truck?
Well, they're going to be all right. Okay. My mistake. They report losses tomorrow. You happy? Is that more accurate? They're going to report losses tomorrow.
Just so confusing.
They
these earnings reports. I mean, space is supposed to report tonight too. What is space reporting? We haven't had a traveler to outer space yet.
Well,
I'm still longing, obviously, but
I don't know if you were watching yesterday, Dennis, but this is nothing to do with Virgin Galactic, but SpaceX.
I watched.
You watched it. I watched it too. It was very cool. It was the first. First splashdown of U.S. astronauts
awesome.
in 5 years. SpaceX also did announce this morning they signed a memo of understanding with Rolls-Royce to develop their engine propulsion technology. But yeah, so the SpaceX thing over the weekend was way cool. And we've seen SPCE move in the past when space things are in the news. And this was a big thing yesterday, the landing of the Dragon.
Yep.
So
2 catalysts for it. One, the earnings report's coming, but definitely like when you see there's people who just think, I swear there's newer investors who think SpaceX is space.
Maybe.
Because I was on my Twitter feed and everybody's talking SpaceX and they're putting SPCE. And I think some people say, oh yeah, SPCE could move off this and they get it. That's what we say too. But there's some people that think SpaceX is SPCE. There is people who think that. And there's people probably buying the stock here today thinking they're buying SpaceX. You're not buying SpaceX, folks. This is not SpaceX, but it is a pure play on travel to space. Obviously, different company completely, but SpaceX does well. We've seen this in the past, Spencer. You're absolutely correct. And identifying these relationships, we talked about relationships on Friday in the Benzinga trading boot camp, that you could identify these relationships and you can make money from them. And I actually had more space that I took overnight. I sold it already in the pre-market.
I was going to ask you about that.
I bought more on Friday for an overnight trade because one, because the launch, 2, because the earnings were coming and we get the pre-earnings catalyst. So I thought space might get some love this morning. I made 4% on that. So I bought it at the close, 22.45, and I sold in the pre-market right in here, 23, actually about 23.20, about 10 cents ago. So that's just a Spencer Israel play right there. Buying ahead of a potential catalyst because we knew the SpaceX was going.
Wow.
Spencer Israel play.
That's a Spencer Israel play right
SIP.
there.
I have my own trades now. All right, I'm going to bring on our guest now, Will Rhind. He is the founder and CEO of GraniteShares. Speaking of stories being hot, we got to get Will's thoughts here on the metals, commodities, gold, platinum, silver on fire. Let's make sure he's on here. Will, good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Yeah, very well. Thank you. Very well.
Will, to the best of your, the best you can explain to us, what is the reason behind the massive rally we've seen in metals in the past few weeks? Why is gold up at all-time highs?
Well, I think there are a number of reasons. I mean, the COVID sort of uncertainty is probably the big sort of amorphous construct, but coming out of that What I particularly look at are real interest rates, and real interest rates, that's the nominal interest rate, particularly say something like the 10-year treasury minus inflation, and those are negative. So when you have negative real interest rates, that has historically been a strong correlation against the price of gold. So real interest rates going down, gold prices going up. I think that's probably the main thing for me.
So that's going to continue then, right? Indefinitely. That's what the Fed said.
Yeah, absolutely. You've heard the Fed saying they are not going to raise, they're not even thinking about raising interest rates for the foreseeable future. And as we saw, with the financial crisis, remember that we had zero interest rates or very, very low interest rates for a long time. And when they started to raise interest rates, there were all these wobbles in the bond market, which ultimately, caused them to reverse track. And so this time around, difficult to see how we're going to be in a position to raise interest rates for some time here.
All right. So if someone is looking at metals right now, they're looking at gold, looking at silver, whatever, and they see the huge rally it's had, and they're thinking to themselves, "Oh, I missed it. I missed it." Is it too late for them to get in?
It's not too late. What I think is that what you're seeing here is a massive rally in real assets. And this is something that, again, I lived through 2008, was in the gold market, the precious metals market at that time. And it's very, very similar, albeit like everything with this crisis, it's just happened at a much, much quicker speed or much, much quicker pace. So remember, it took 3 years after 2008 for gold, for silver, for other precious metals, but particularly gold and silver to hit all-time highs. This time, gold's done that in a few months. And so, the price of gold right now, we clipped obviously 2000 very briefly, but hovering just below the 2000 mark. Silver's been bid, platinum and palladium also. And I think this is people, really trying to get exposure to something that is not stocks and bonds. And here's the interesting part from my perspective. When I would do a show like this, or I'd go on CNBC or one of these major shows last time, around during the financial crisis and afterwards, first question people would ask is gold a bubble? Is silver a bubble? And this time around, I don't hear anybody saying that. Nobody's saying that it is irrational that the price of gold or the price of silver are as high as they are. And I think that really goes to the strength of this market.
We're on the line with Will Rhind, founder and CEO of GraniteShares. We all know commodities trend, and once they get going, they get going. So entries are hard, exits are more difficult. So when you're looking at something like 2000, that's like a psychological level. Do you try and trade these at all? Do you have targets? Or is it more of just moving your stop up and say, hey, take me out on a downstroke? How do you approach targets in markets that are moving like this?
I think it depends obviously on what your perspective is and what you're kind of trying to do here. I mean, I think that gold should be a part of everybody's portfolio from a permanent perspective. Trading around the edges, from a risk management perspective, I think is already or is always something that people should be looking to do. But I think it really depends on how high you think gold could go here. And I think one thing is, I look at the price of palladium, which for those of you that probably don't pay attention to the price of palladium, but that's a metal that is trading at $2,200 roughly an ounce. And if people are buying that at $2,200 an ounce, I think there's plenty of room for gold. Certainly platinum massively undervalued, I think in terms of the precious metals. A lot of people that may be saying, well, I miss gold. What's next? Potentially platinum is something I think that could go as well.
So, is there a difference in how you're approaching like the precious metals like gold versus base metals like platinum or silver?
A little bit. I think. Well, I think gold is different to everything. So let's start by saying, gold is the currency of last resort. I think for a lot of reasons, gold is unique. I think then when you come out of gold, you're going into the other precious metals that they definitely have some, safe haven qualities, some currency-like qualities to them. And those would be silver, platinum, and to a lesser extent, palladium. And then outside of that, you've got the pure base metals. So things like copper, nickel, lead, zinc. I'm less sort of interested in those at the moment because those are much more driven by the economy and much more driven by their fundamentals. But it's really the precious metal set, I think, that is benefiting here from what we're seeing in the markets.
So talking about correlated assets and alternative assets, I mean, you can't ignore the rally in Bitcoin here. And I just want to, your perspective on it. It had its major run up, its big collapse with the market, consolidation. Where does Bitcoin, as far as alternative assets, where does that fit in your investing scenario?
Well, I think what we're seeing is that has a role to play as well. And to me, that is another alternative asset class that, has gradually, like you said, has gone from, pretty much obscurity to massive highs to lows to consolidated, and now again is moving up on the back of what we're seeing similar to gold. And I think that Bitcoin has sort of cemented itself as a genuine alternative to stocks and bonds. Gold has had the luxury of it's been doing that for thousands of years, but Bitcoin obviously much newer asset class. It's a lot smaller market, and the volatility is still a lot higher. But clearly, as we've seen, that plays a role as well in terms of people looking for an alternative to traditional stocks and bonds.
And Will, just looking at the rest of the year here, how do you approach gold and platinum and silver and these metals, or where do you see them being at the end of 2020? They can't. I mean, I guess they can keep going, but I mean, can they keep going? Is my question, I guess.
Yeah, I think they can. There are a number of different lenses for people to look at this with. I mean, one that gets talked about a lot is the inflation adjusted all-time high for gold. So the 1980,
Right, the 80s,
at
right.
the end of that run, gold reached $800 an ounce. Inflation adjusted, people put that at $2,500 roughly today in today's money. Okay. So therefore, the real price, inflation adjusted high for gold is $2,500. So obviously, we're a little bit away from that right now. I look at the strength in other metals. Like I said, I briefly mentioned palladium, but I think if people are a buyer of palladium at 2,200, gold seems to me undervalued just versus something like palladium in this particular market. And also in terms of the buying of gold, I mean, the gold-backed ETFs, exchange traded funds as a category, now all of the consolidated ounces in gold-backed ETFs would be equal to the third largest central bank in the world. So in many ways, they've become the people's central bank in this particular time. And I think that will only continue.
And what about some of these other metals? I look at copper, I look at it as more of like an industrial metal. And I guess you could be optimistic and say, hey, we're going to bounce back. We're going to need copper. What do you think about the move in copper? Is it just along for the ride because it's a metal, or is there validation to this rally?
I think a little bit it's along for the ride because something like copper is just so intrinsically linked to the business cycle, to global economic growth. And so particularly with this metal, I mean, obviously it got beaten up massively. So at some level, it's coming off of a very low base. But the largest buyer is China. So this is very much a China story, a China-US trade story. I think to a certain degree, all commodities, pro-cyclical commodities like copper, can get a bid in a fear of inflation environment or a reflationary environment. But I think you still have to have core fundamentals at work for copper to really get going from here.
All right, Ron with Will Rhind. He's the founder and CEO of GraniteShares. They've got a couple of commodity-based ETFs, the GraniteShares Gold Trust, ticker is BAR, GraniteShares Platinum Trust, ticker is PLTM. Will, thanks for the time today, and stay safe out there.
Thank you. You too.
All right. I do have one or two stocks more on my list, and then we'll go to some tickers from the chat. We should go to the stock of the day today, which is ADT, ticker ADT. This stock was $8 on Friday, got as high as $20 an hour and a half ago, and is now down to $14. Why? Great question. I'm glad you asked. They announced a partnership with Google to create a next generation smart home security offering. Google will invest $450 million in the company, in ADT, for a 6.6% stake.
Holy mackerel. The retail stock of the day. We got to jump in and buy this thing to $20. I mean, is this like people are thinking this Kodak part 2 here type deal? I mean, here's a stock. It's unbelievable how, stocks can just turn everything around because, you know, they get a vote of confidence from government, obviously in Kodak's case, but, you know, or contract or vote of confidence from Google. I mean, yeah, it's really good news. The stock should be up on it. Should it go up 150% on it? Should it be up this much? Probably not. Am I going to come in and short it at 1450? No, because I watched what happened with Kodak. I'd be scared. I'm scared to short anything right now. I'm spooked.
What about
on the shorts?
High of the day? High of the day. I'm really going to go out on a limb here. And I'm going to say the high.
What is the high? How high did this thing get?
2009.
Holy cow. It's like the story. If you have a story in this market, all of a sudden, a sudden story, the moves, they're just insane.
1.2 million shares traded in that bracket. 1.2 million shares traded in that bracket.
They're just insane. The moves are so crazy. But how do you stop it? Like, how do you like come in here and say, okay, I'm going to short at 14? The move was insane on Kodak when it went from $2 to 15, and then it went to 60, and it's still $23. So, you know, it's like a Kodak kind of. So I see the big move, and I'm not saying come in here and buying. I'm not buying this thing, 1450. I think when the dust settles, you know, yes, it's nice they're going to get a deal and they're going to do something with Google, but does that make the company worth, you know, two and a half times what it was on Friday? It's this illiquidity and people are getting excited and the story gets hot in the pre-market and they just buy. So
I'll tell you, I got
it's 1999 style.
Yeah.
Don't you know the stock market's always right? If the stock market says it's true, it's true. I mean, if they say the company's worth X, it's worth X.
Like this is the ADT security systems that's been there for years and years and years, right? Am I on the right stock?
Yeah, you are. I have a question.
Like the home security system, like ADT,
yes,
like call ADT.
Yes, you're right.
You can get to Comcast now for like $2.
How many people are like my dad and only got a sticker that said we had it, but didn't actually get it?
I better because when I bought the house, it's like monitored by ADT or whatever the security system was, and I was like, no, I'm canceling that right away, but I'll have the sticker on there. So I was doing the same thing. And you can see the little things, you know, because they don't come and take the little.
No, they don't take it.
They don't take those things back, you know, the camera or whatever it is there. So they just, you know, that's it. So
I'll tell you, if you're long,
it's an unbelievable gift. If you're long, this thing is a gift. But who knows where the gift stops? I'm not saying the top's 1450. I'm not saying it's 17. It's probably 21 in the pre-market, Joel. But holy cow, we're just in crazy town sometimes with some of these stocks. What happened with ADT? Why was ADT? Because I traded. Didn't we trade the stocks years ago? I've seen it only out since 2018. Did they change ticker symbols or something? Is that what? I only have data to 2018.
Who was the guy that got in all kinds of trouble? He had like the $2 million shower curtain. This was back when we were at Bright Office. There was that one. Yes, help me, Dennis. I know you can think of this.
Who has a $2 million shower curtain? I have no idea where you're going with this one. Come on.
Spinner's going to help me out with this one. It was a alarm. I don't know if this company was involved with that at all.
Wait a minute. I just Googled that real fast. So the CEO of Tyco, it was a
Tyco. Bob Davis has it in the chat too.
$6,000 shower curtain.
How much was the shower curtain?
$6,000.
It's like so it wasn't 2 million, but it's
I
want to see it. Do they have a picture of it? I want to see a $6,000 shower curtain. What's it look like?
I don't have.
Bring it up and show the $6,000 shower curtain. This is the worst tangent we've ever went on. But now that you've said, I've never seen a $6,000 shower curtain. I got to see a $6,000.
Let me see if I can find a picture of it.
Go to images, Google images.
What was the guy's name? What was the guy's name?
Yeah, I got it. Dennis Kozlowski.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm excited. A $6,000 shower curtain.
All right, let me blow it up here. Share my screen, and we can see what this.
It must look just awesome.
I don't know if you can really. It doesn't look amazing.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, I hope Jason's not watching today.
This is what you get when you don't know what to do with all your money. You buy flowery shower curtains for $6,000. Okay, I've seen enough.
All right, back to ADT.
I thought it was gonna be made of solid gold or something.
If you see 17, this 17 handle to me looks, oh man, in the 15-minute, everyone that didn't sell it above 1730, 1740, they're stuffed, man. So I think you get anywhere near 17 resistance, and then 14 here. You got to hold 14 or more downside, but don't really lean on the.
But it's a technology company now.
The Google,
because Google's involved. I guess it always kind of was. It was home security, but now it'll be deemed. Oh, but now it's a technology company because Google's in there. So it's got to get a technology valuation. Genius. This is good for the company. Good for ADT. No, good for them. Good for them. Stock price way overdone.
One more stock on my list. Speaking of gifts this morning, Marathon Petroleum MPC. They had earnings. They also announced they are selling Speedway to the parent company of 7-Eleven for $21 billion in cash.
Oh, good for them.
They beat on their top line. Missed on the top line, beat on their bottom line, and are selling Speedway for some cash.
The Speedways are always, I never realized they're always with the 7-Elevens. You go on the 7-Eleven, the Speedway's right there. Remember the Speedway and the 7-Eleven over there on 10 Mile on 10 Mile? I always fill up there.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, a great gas station. I don't like oil stocks. So 42.
That's a
nice
big
left.
Big
left. I hate oil stocks. I'd sell it.
Wow, this is it broke out on the daily from 40. You're trading at 42. You were higher. Man, 46. This thing doesn't move that much in a month. But anyways, that's your pre-market high, 45.94. If you really want to use a juicy target, I think you're going to have to be a little bit more realistic here and maybe look at this 44 area for a target. 44.12 has been the high of the rebound. You did that in June, on June 8th. So keep an eye on 44 bucks. In MPC. S&P's continuing to rip here in the pre-market session. We are above the recent
ADT. It's the ADT market.
Maybe that's why tech is up today. It's ADT.
ADT. We're giving it's the ADT rally.
There we go.
Give them some love. We haven't talked about ADT, I don't know, ever on the show.
I don't
home security is hot. It
Why do you need home security?
With all the riots and everything going on, ADT should have been hot anyways.
Yeah, but if you don't leave your home, what do you need an alarm for?
Exactly. The other side of it. The other
But you sleep. The people coming in and get you in your sleep.
Joel from the top rope.
People don't break in houses anymore while people are there.
These riot videos I'm seeing. That looks kind of scary.
I mean, why? Your alarm, everyone has an ADT alarm. You got an alarm. The alarm goes off, you know? I don't know how many times we have someone's tripped our alarm and then the cops come out and it ends up costing $100. So if you trip your alarm and it's false, you got to call right away or else the cops come out and they charge you $100. I think it's happened.
Sounds expensive.
Yeah.
All right. I'm moving on here. There are some tickers in the chat that I wrote some of them down.
Clorox. What about Clorox?
Yeah, that was dropped in there this morning in the chat earlier.
That's all.
They had earnings this morning. They also announced
that's everything baked in trade.
A new CEO, but they beat on their EPS, beat on their sales, and they expect a flat to low revenue growth next year and a single-digit % increase. Or
flat to low revenue growth? How? We're in a pandemic. Don't say stuff like that.
They said next year.
Yeah, well, they think that if the vaccine doesn't come out, everybody still be buying Clorox wipes.
Well, it's a vaccine. Clorox wipes. It's a vaccine play too, isn't it?
No, this would be counter-vaccine play because if you have vaccine, then you don't need Clorox
wipes.
No,
that's not what he was referring to. I think.
Yeah, Dennis, go back in your.
They're going to come out with their own vaccine.
No, moving on from that.
I've lost on that one. Broke out from 230. It's a stock that's still loved. It's been in an uptrend. It has just been really running though. It's still Clorox. 160, 236, unless they're going to team up with Google to come up with some technology wipes here. It's hard to think of the multiple expansion continuing to go here on CLX. So down 2.6%. This is your classic that everybody's buying it on Friday ahead of the numbers. They knew they were going to blow it away. The high bar was very, very high and they didn't get over it.
Yeah, now you even.
And then they talk about 2021 coming back down. Don't say stuff like that. Your stock's going to come down. Come on. Think of the shareholders. Think of the day traders. Don't talk your stock down. There's day traders long this thing.
Yeah, like you. And
I'm not long it.
All right. Here are some more tickers from the chat. Again, I wrote a few of them down, but drop some more of them in there. We'll cover as many as we can. Being asked about Fastly here, FSLY. I know we talked about this one last week.
It always goes up.
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
It's the stock that just goes up. I'm like, if I bring it up today, I know it's up 3-4%. Why? Because it's Monday. It just goes up.
This is Monday.
It's Fastly. It just goes up. It's $20 in May. It goes up $3 every day. The stock just does not stop. It looks like it's going to break out and go through 100. I would not want to be short it. I do have major resistance, 102.95. What's it do there? So if you're in it, maybe that's the point. But technology company, hot story, Fastly sounds pretty fast. I don't even know what they do, to be honest with you, but it goes.
Cloud.
It goes up.
Cloud.
Yeah,
Cloud, right?
It's a cloud play.
We cloud so many stocks. Cloud. That's the easy way. I don't really understand what they do in the cloud, but it's cloud.
No one understands the cloud, then.
Cloud.
It's the way it goes.
It's up in the sky, little poofy thing in the sky.
What about? Fine, moving on. What about Nvidia here? They have earnings in 2 weeks.
That's been quiet lately, hasn't it? With all AMD,
ready to go. I think it's $500. I said AMD is 100. Nvidia. When AMD is 100, Nvidia is going to be 500. So I don't own Nvidia. I want to own Nvidia. Again, this was another one I sold during COVID. Never sell your technology stocks. I sold at 240. What a mistake during the COVID rampage. And I'm never going to get the stock back again at those prices, I don't think. If I was long it, I'd be holding strong like my Microsoft. Nvidia is going to be a $500 stock, I think.
428.73. That's what you hit here and earlier this morning. And then I could just go to the pre-market, the all-time high. There's a target for you if you have to have a target. 431.69. That was your high on July 13th. And had a bad day that day. Ended up settling at 402.09. Maybe that was, I wonder if that was an earnings day or maybe a bad day in the market. But you're right. Knocking on the door here. Nice looking chart in NVDA.
A couple stocks to keep your eye on this week. Google today specifically, they haven't announced anything, but there was a teaser, there was a leak. I think they may announce a 5G capable Pixel phone today. I'm not sure, but keep Google on your radar. Also, keep Qualcomm on your radar this week because Samsung has an event on Wednesday, and Qualcomm's chips are powering the next generation of Samsung phones. So
this story is hot as hell too, and you got the 5G behind it now. Technology play. I am long Qualcomm. It is one that I did buy during. I didn't buy a lot of stocks in March. This was one I wanted for a long time, and I plugged my nose and actually bought it at $62.
Good job.
And I wish I would have bought more. Always the ones that go up. I wish I would have bought more.
Didn't you trade out of that one? Was that?
Yeah. I've done it pretty well on it. I traded. I had it from like 50 to like 80. It went up that ridiculous day. Remember when we had that huge move back in like 2019? I sold it because I thought it was too much, and then I got back in like 75 and had it like to 80 again. So a little, and then I was like, if it ever gets back down into like 50s, 60s, I'm going to rebuy it. And it did with COVID. And I was like, I really was struggling to buy anything in March because it felt like the end of the world was coming, the zombie apocalypse. But I was like, I bought Microsoft and Qualcomm were two technology stocks that I bought, and I wish I would have bought a lot more.
All right,
so Qualcomm holding strong. I'm not getting out. This is all-time highs. Why sell it now? This thing, it's got the 5G cycle coming for it. I mean, I don't see any reason that
107.85. I mean, a little bit. I mean, I'm just saying a little bit of a, I see a seller there. 107. All your highs since 7 this morning have been 107.20 to 107.85. So someone's trying to peel down a little stock. Maybe they bought it in the after hours or something. But long term, breaking out new all-time high.
All right. On tomorrow's show, we'll be joined by Andrew Channon. He's behind the space ETF. So save all your Virgin Galactic.
What's the space ETF?
UFO.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Dennis, you don't trade that?
No, I knew about it. I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
What's in UFO? Well, I guess we'll find out tomorrow.
We'll find out tomorrow. We'll
find out tomorrow. We'll
go on the website right now and find out for yourself. But that'll be on tomorrow's show. So yeah, that'll be a wrap for us here. I want to thank our guest, Will Rhind. Thanks to all of you in our chats. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate that. What else did I want to say? Catch the replay of the show on YouTube or on our podcast. We're on every major podcast platform, from Spotify to iTunes to Google. You can always email us if you want. So send us feedback, good, bad, or otherwise. PreMarket@benzinga.com. And please remember that all the information from our show is meant to be used as informational purposes and not for investing or trading advice. Joel and I will be back at 3:40 p.m. Eastern time on our YouTube channel. Same place as always. Until then, everyone have a great rest of your Monday. Stay safe and good luck.